Have you ever asked anyone for help and they gave it and it was wonderful? But then, in the not too distant future, you need their help again. And yet you've debated whether you should ask them because was it too close since they last helped you? Do they think you'll be a bit of a nuisance? Well, in today's psalm, the psalmist expresses how wonderful and incredible God's help is to him. At every time, he doesn't worry about going to him and being concerned. We're in Psalm 71, and right at the beginning, he expresses in the first 4 verses that the Lord helps him in the present. The Lord helps me right now. He talks about that, and he believes, and he wonderfully has assurance of this. At the end of verse 3, he says, "For you are my rock and fortress." He's talking about right now. This is his testimony. He believes today God is his rock and fortress. But then in the next section, verses 5 to 13, he talks about the Lord's help in the past. It's lovely, isn't it, to reflect on the fact that God helps us in the here and now. But it's also good as well to stir our hearts and move us to praise, to reflect on all that he's done for us in the past. There's a hymn we used to sing, "We'll praise him for all that's past." There in verse 5 he says, "For you have been my hope, O sovereign Lord, my confidence since my youth." He knows and he believes that God's always been there for him. But then in the third section, verses 14 to 21, he talks about the Lord's future help. Again, that hymn I was quoting from Joseph Hart, "How good is the God we adore." We'll praise him for all that's past. We'll trust him for all that's to come. Listen to verse 14. "But as for me, I shall always have hope." He goes on and he talks about being old and grey and future generations praising his name. What a wonderful God we have, who helps us in the here and now, who's helped us in the past, and who's going to always help us in the future. What confidence we have when we should approach him, and what thankfulness when we approach him. Let's be like the psalmist there in verse 22 towards the end, and he praises him for what? His faithfulness. What a faithful God have you and I.